Hello and welcome to your Illyriad tutorial video. In this video we will be covering military. Military in Illyriad is the means in which you will do combat. You can fight against NPCs as well as other players. You'll need to research the military tree in order to gain these abilities and troops. There are 5 basic different types of troops in Illyriad. The first are spears, which are a strong defensive unit that you'll be able to create very early in the game. They are lightly armed and armored. The next type is infantry, a heavily armored and armed, versatile unit. The next type is ranged, which represent things such as archers. They are good at offense, but really excel at defense. Cavalry are your mounted units, and they are the fastest units in the game. Siege weapons are a special type of units used in city sieges. It's important to note that the race you choose in Illyriad affects your military in a couple of different ways. First, the name and stats of all of your military units will be different based on the race that you choose. So for example, my cavalry unit here is called a Paxman because I'm a dwarf. The different races in Illyriad have different specialties when it comes to combat. For example, humans have what's considered to be the best cavalry, elves the best range, dwarves the best infantry, and orcs the best spears. To create troops in Illyriad, you need to use your barracks. You can go here to the Train Troops icon that takes you to your barracks unit production screen. The level of your barracks affects how quickly you produce these units. So the higher the level, the quicker the time. The resources required to create military units are listed here and production time is here. It's important to note that military units in Illyriad have an hourly gold upkeep cost. So for example, if I click on this yeoman right here, you'll see that he has a 1 gold per hour upkeep cost for each one that I create. If you want to learn more about each of the military units that you can create, just click on their icon. It'll tell you their attack and defense stats, experience they gain, movement speed, and carrying capacity. So for example, these top 2 are my spear units. Here are my infantry units, ranged units, cavalry, and siege weapons. If you choose the max button, it'll show you the max number of this unit that you can create with your current level of advanced resources required. So for example, I could create 36 crossbowmen right now. I don't need quite that many, so I'll just create 2 for now. Choose Make, and you'll see the production schedule below shows the time remaining to complete these units. If you visit the military overview page, it shows you all the current troops available in your city. Here are your unassigned units, including any unassigned commanders, and your current unit pool. Your unit pool are any military units that you have that are not assigned to an army at this time. Below are any armies that I have that are currently considered to be on defense in my city. The total amount of troops of each type that you have in your city count towards your total defense. So you'll see here I have slightly more spear defense than bow defense because I have more spear units in my city than those that have bows. Before I create a new army in my city, I must create a commander. So if you click on the Commanders tab, you'll see my current list of commanders. Commanders are a special type of unit in Illyriad. They are required to lead the divisions of your armies, and they act more like a character than the rest of your army does. Basically, they have health and can be killed, damaged, and even resurrected. Commanders take damage in battle and can be killed in battle or via assassination attempts from enemy diplomats. If a commander has been damaged, they'll regenerate their health hourly. Commanders also have abilities and bonuses that affect their division that they lead. Here you'll see the current health of my commander named Sally, the type of unit that she is, which is a yeoman, and her current health regeneration per hour, which is 2. You'll notice her level here, which is 2, and any XP required to get to the next level. As you research, different abilities and bonuses can be unlocked for your commanders, and the experience gained through battle can be applied to level up these bonuses. So for example, you'll see here in the self bonuses section for my commander named Sally, she has 2 of 10 levels of vitality, which increases her max health. There are all sorts of different types of bonuses you can learn for your commanders, including offensive and defensive tactics that apply to the entire division, as well as discipline tactics that also apply to the division, or seasoning tactics, which apply only to the commander himself. You'll see here the self bonuses I've learned and division bonuses here. These division bonuses are very important in determining what type of troops should be in the division led by this commander. So for example, if this commander had a bonus to spear unit attack, it would be much better if she was leading a group of spears than any other type of troop. Another important thing to consider when choosing the type of troop to promote to a commander is the special division bonus that that type of troop will give whenever they are a commander. So if, for example, if I review my types of troops here, the yeoman commander gives a 5% bonus to the phalanx formation skill, whereas the halberdier gives a 5% bonus to close quarter penetration. This is different for all of the different types of units available that can be promoted to commanders. So it's important to consider this factor when choosing a commander to promote as well. For now, I'll promote a new commander. I will choose a rune writer for now and pick the name of Jack and choose promote. Now I have yet another commander named Jack with a level of 0 who is not assigned to any armies. I can review the standard stats for this commander here. Now that I have a commander, I can form another army. So if you choose the Armies tab, you'll see the different armies that I have. Armies in Illyriad have different divisions, and each division must be led by a commander. So for example here you'll see my army named Defensive Army that has one division called Ranged that has 2 different types of ranged troops inside, and a commander named Bob that's leading this division. Available units that aren't assigned currently to any army are available here and could be added to this division of this army. I also have a second division called Spears that has these 2 different types of spear units and the commander of Sally. If I wanted to remove some of these current units that are in this army and put them back in the unit pool, I could just type the number here and choose return. For now, I'm going to create an entirely new army to go with my new commander, and I will call it Offensive Army. It's important to choose a name that'll help you remember the purpose of that army so that you don't get confused. Choose Form, and you'll see my new army. Click the title to expand, and you can create division names from here. We'll create a division called Cavalry, and choose Create. Now my cavalry division of this army needs a commander, and I'll choose Jack, my only unassigned commander, the new one that I just created. I'll click Appoint, and now he is leading this division of this army. Now I'll want to include different units in this army. For now, I'll choose the rest of my cavalry units. I'll type 195 and assign, as well as 50 and assign. Now this is my offensive army comprised of cavalry units with a cavalry commander. You'll notice here that my diplomatic units are also available to be added to my armies. When you add diplomatic units into your army, they can help defend that army against hostile diplomatic attacks. For now, I'm done creating my army, so I'll show you the different types of military actions that can take place in game. One type of military action in game is reinforcement. Reinforcing can be used to send an army from your town to another one of your towns, to one of your alliance mate towns, or one of your confederation mate towns. This can be used to add defense to that town and help them if they're going to be attacked. So for now, I'll choose my other town, choose Send Army, and I'll send an army to reinforce. Here you'll see all my different armies that are awaiting orders. I'll send my defensive army to help defend my second town with reinforcement. Choose the time that you'd like to hold and fortify here. For now, I'll just choose 1 hour and 10 minutes. Here it shows the time to destination, and I can choose Send. Then on my military movements page, it shows my outbound military movement to Lunar Land 2 with defensive army with the intention of reinforcing that town. If I change my mind, I can choose the recall button within the next 77 seconds. You'll also see in the next events screen an outbound military movement. And if you go to the world map, you can see my military units traveling from one town to another. The speed in which they travel is determined by the slowest unit within. And my defensive army is fairly slow, so they're moving fairly slowly right now. Another available military action in-game is Occupy. Using Occupy, you can send an army from your town onto a square anywhere on the map. They can then stand and hold that square for the time that you tell them. This can be used in lots of different ways. You could choose to hold a square in order to keep an enemy from doing so, or you can choose to occupy a square to show that you intend to claim sovereignty on it later. For now, I'll choose this square and choose Send Army. And then on my army I have named Occupying Army, I will then choose Occupy for 1 hour. It shows me here the time to that destination, and I can choose Send. Then on my outbound movements page, I can see my occupying army is moving into place on that square. I could then choose to recall them if I changed my mind. And if I go back to the world map, I can see my second army in motion. Another military movement in game is the attack movement. Attacks are just as they sound, in that your army will travel to a location and then fight whoever is staying there until there is a winner. In this example, I'll choose to fight some NPCs. More specifically, this group of beetles that is outside of my town. If I click on the beetles, since they are inside of my diplomatic visibility range, I can see that the size estimation is pack. But if I'm going to fight them with military action, I might want to know a little bit more about it, so earlier I sent a diplomatic scout mission to tell me more details about this group of giant beetles. And here in my mail is the scout report from earlier about that group of giant beetles near my city. The scout report tells me the quantity of beetles that are in the group, and if I click on the icon for each, their attack and defense ratings, as well as experience they might grant. So here we have teeming beetles, venomous beetles, giant beetles, and swarming greenbacks. So in general, we have about 74 beetle units on this square of different levels of attack and defense ratings. If I go back to the world map, I can highlight the group of beetles and see another important bit of information. The terrain of each square in Illyriad affects combat that takes place on that square. So for example, this group of beetles is on a square of land that counts as a large hill. Some basic things to keep in mind about different troops and different terrain in Illyriad is that on mountains, they favor ranged and spear units, whereas they penalize cavalry and infantry units. Hills have a similar effect, though to lesser degrees than mountains themselves. Forests penalize range and cavalry, but favor infantry and spear units. And plains favor cavalry, but penalize spear units. Terrain bonuses not only account for NPC groups out in the world, but cities as well. So when you're fighting a certain city, the terrain that it's located on could be very important to that battle. For now, I'll choose the group of beetles, click Send Army, and now I'll choose my offensive army to attack the beetles. In the drop-down menu, you can see the 3 different types of actions I could take, but for now, I'm going to choose Attack. You'll see here a checkbox next to Is Feint. A feint is a special type of maneuver in Illyriad that can be used as a distraction technique. You can send out your army, and right before it gets there, it'll turn around and come home. But the person receiving the attack won't know that this is a feint until the last minute. Or you could choose Is Covert, which will keep this military action not visible to your alliance members. But for now, there's no need to faint because I do intend to attack these beetles, so I will choose attack. And now you'll see my offensive army moving into motion to attack the beetles. If you go back to the world map, you can see them here. You'll see now my army has landed on their destination and combat has taken place between the beetles and my army. To find out the results of that combat, I go to my mail and read the combat report. Victorious battle against NPC unit forces at square -320, -131 by GM Luna's forces from Luna Land. The large hill was difficult for my cavalry units, but we came out victorious in the end anyway. Here you'll see the attackers, the Commander Jack, and the troops in the group. Any casualties, which my commander was damaged for 10, he now has 90 health remaining. I lost 20 packsmen and 5 rune riders in the process. My surviving units are here, the defenders are listed here below, and all of the units of beetles were killed. There were no survivors. As a reward, my troops retrieved 1,680 gold from the slain foes. Now that my Commander Jack has done some combat, we'll go back to the commander screen and see what experience he's gotten. You'll see here, as I said, his health is 90 out of 100 at a regeneration rate of 2 per hour. And I am now able to level up some of his abilities because of the experience that he got in that combat. For now, I'll choose to level up his max health by choosing level up. I'll also choose to level up accelerated healing so he can regenerate at 4 per hour. Since he is a cavalry commander that leads a cavalry group, I can give a division bonus for him to cavalry unit attack here. That's 1% bonus, and now 2% bonus. I have no more points available to spend, but you'll see now my new commander, named Jack, is now level 4. If I go back to my military movement screen, I'll see that my occupying army is now in place, and the timer is counting down the time to occupy. To read the report, I can visit my mail and read it here. This gives a summary of my occupying army, what units are available that are occupying the square. Now if I go back to the world map, I can see my occupying army here. It says your occupying force with a size of several. Now you can note, now that I have this occupying force out in the world map, if someone didn't like me having that occupying force there, they could attack those units and kill my troops. You'll also see next to me, there's now a neutral occupying force from someone else's town. When I click on it, I see neutral occupying force at the size of gathering. If I go back to my military movements page, you'll see my defensive army is still in motion to my second town, Luna Land 2, in order to help defend that town. My offensive army that just got finished the combat with the beetles is on its way home carrying the gold that they got as a reward. If I go back to the world map, you'll see my armies in motion. My offensive army has now returned home. So now I can use them to show you another type of military action in Illyriad. This time, instead of fighting an NPC group, I'm going to send my troops against another town. I'll choose the tutorial town here and click Send Army. My offensive army is available for use again, and this time I would like to choose Raid. A raid in Illyriad only sends a portion of the troops that are available in that army in an attempt to steal resources from your enemy. Again, if I wanted to, I could choose Feint and use this as a distraction technique, or use Is Covert to hide my actions from my alliance. But I don't want to do either of those things right now. I actually want to raid the city, so I will choose Raid. Just click Send to send the army on their way. Now my offensive army is on a raiding mission to Tutorial Town. If I go back to the world map, I can see them in motion. Now if this tutorial town was another player, in their next event screen, they would see a hostile military movement incoming on their town. This would send off quite an alarm if you see now that someone is attacking you in game. Another way that you could send out your army is to visit the orders page directly. If you know the player's name and their city name, you could just type it in. So for example, if I wanted to attack Luna with Tutorial Town, I could do it this way, rather than navigating there from the world map. You'll now see that my defensive army, en route to reinforce Luna Land 2, is getting ready to arrive. Now that they've arrived, you'll see in my army encampment screen, my defensive army is reinforcing Luna Land 2 for 1 hour and 10 minutes. If I visit my notifications and open the report, I can see a summary of that army. You'll see here that my offensive army set out to raid my neighboring tutorial town is almost ready to arrive. Now that they've arrived, I can check my mail to find out the outcome of that combat. Victorious battle against Luna's forces at Tutorial Town by GM Luna's forces from Luna Land. Here you'll see the attackers and defenders and any casualties that came from the combat. My commander Jack was damaged for 20 and now has 70 health remaining. I lost 11 Paxmen, 3 Rune Riders. Below, you'll see the defenders and their casualties as well. At the bottom, you'll see the amount of resources I was able to get from this city in my raid. I acquired 6,243 food from this raid mission. If I go back to my military movements page, you'll see my offensive army is on its way home, carrying the food. The last two types of military actions available in game are Blockades and Sieges, and they'll be covered in another video.